Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing a documentary called Soft White Underbelly. It has quite a fascinating look into a pretty interesting part of history that I feel like most people have probably never heard of before. So the documentary follows the last known surviving member of an elite group of assassins who were hired by the British government during the 1970s and 80s to carry out extrajudicial killings on foreign soil. So it is basically a bunch of white British dudes going around killing people that the British government didn't necessarily want alive anymore. There is also a very intriguing character in this documentary who claims to have been the first person ever to assassinate someone using a remote-controlled drone. That's right. The technology that today we mostly associate with warfare and militaries was allegedly used for the first time ever for an assassination carried out by the British government. Before we get into the video though, now back to the video. So, if you're a fan of true crime, thrillers, or documentaries in general, then I think you will really enjoy this one. The documentary does a great job at building suspense and keeping you guessing about what exactly is going on and who to trust. It also gives some great insight into the world of espionage and intelligence gathering, which is something that I find to be particularly interesting. The story starts off with a bang when the main character, who goes by the codename Spaghetti, gets a mysterious phone call from his past. He doesn't answer the phone, but later in the documentary, we find out that the person on the other end was someone he used to work within the aforementioned group of assassins. And the purpose of the phone call was actually to warn him that someone from their old unit is looking to take out Spaghetti. This immediately raises a lot of questions. Why would someone want Spaghetti dead? What did he do in the past? And who is the mysterious caller? All of these questions keep you engaged throughout the entire documentary. One thing I really liked about this documentary is how it kept me guessing until the very end. Even though there are some pretty intense moments, it still manages to be funny in some parts, too. There's one particular scene where Spaghetti is meeting someone in a public place, and he is trying to figure out if they are the person that is after him. The scene is shot in a way that builds up suspense, making you think that something bad is about to happen. But instead, it turns out that Spaghetti was just worried about the wrong thing. It was actually a very clever way of showing the audience that even our main character is not always who we think he is, and that there are multiple layers to every person in the documentary. Now, while the title of this documentary may suggest otherwise, this isn't only about violence and killing. There are some deeper themes present too, one of them being redemption. Throughout the course of the documentary, we see Spaghetti trying to make amends for some of the things he did in his past. We also see him confront some of the demons that are still haunting him from those days. Another theme is betrayal. As the documentary progresses, more and more secrets are revealed about the characters and their relationships with each other. We see how trust can be easily broken and the devastating consequences it can have. As I mentioned earlier, the documentary is also quite funny in some parts. There is one scene where Spaghetti is talking to a friend of his over the phone, and they start reminiscing about their old times together. Spaghetti describes how they used to go around killing people for fun, which is obviously a serious topic. However, the way it's portrayed makes it hilarious. Another aspect of this documentary that I found interesting was the cinematography. The director did a great job at capturing the essence of each location and creating a visual feast for the audience. There are some breathtaking shots of beautiful landscapes, which contrast nicely with the dark subject matter of the documentary. However, despite all the positives, there are some aspects of this documentary that could have been better. For example, at times it felt like the director was trying too hard to be clever or mysterious. There were some scenes that could have been cut out, and the pacing of the documentary could have been improved. Nonetheless, these are just minor complaints and do not take away from the fact that this is a well-made documentary. I would recommend this documentary to anyone who enjoys true crime or espionage-related stories. If you like your thrillers with a side of mystery and suspense, then this is definitely one to watch. Just be prepared to stay up late because once you start watching it, you won't be able to stop. Overall, I would give this documentary a solid 8 out of 10. It is definitely worth a watch and will keep you on the edge of your seat until the very end. So, if you're looking for something to watch this weekend, then look no further than Soft White Underbelly. You won't be disappointed. Now, since this documentary revolves around the idea of a secret group of assassins carrying out hits for the British government, I thought it would be interesting to discuss the ethical implications of such a program. Is it ever justified for a government to hire someone to carry out an assassination? What are the potential consequences of such actions? And what does it say about society when its leaders are willing to engage in such behavior? Let's start by considering the moral implications of hiring someone to carry out an assassination. Can it ever be justified? One argument in favor of such actions might be that if a person is a threat to national security or if they have committed a serious crime, then it might be justified to remove them. However, this argument raises several concerns. Firstly, who decides what constitutes a threat to national security or a serious crime? There is always the danger that those in power will use this as a pretext to eliminate anyone who opposes them or who could potentially challenge their authority. Secondly, even if there is a legitimate reason to remove someone, does it justify murder? Is it ever right to intentionally take someone's life, even if they are a dangerous criminal? But let's move on to the second part of the question. What are the potential consequences of such a program? The main problem with state-sponsored assassinations is the lack of accountability. When someone is killed by a private citizen, there are legal and social repercussions. They will face trial and, if convicted, they will be punished in accordance with the law. However, when a government is involved, there is no such oversight. Who investigates a government agency when it is accused of carrying out illegal activities? And what happens when the agency in question is the one responsible for upholding the law? This creates a situation where there is no one to hold the powerful to account, leading to a climate of fear and intimidation. Moreover, state-sponsored assassinations send a dangerous message to other countries and to the world at large. It suggests that if you cross those in power, no matter where you are, you may be at risk of being targeted for elimination. This creates an atmosphere of suspicion and mistrust, which is not conducive to peaceful international relations. In conclusion, while the idea of a secret group of assassins carrying out hits for the government might seem like the plot of a movie, it is actually a real and serious issue. The ethical, legal, and political implications of such a program are far-reaching and should not be taken lightly. Governments have a responsibility to protect their citizens, but that should never come at the expense of violating the rule of law or engaging in behavior that undermines international peace and security. And on that note, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps out a lot and allows us to continue making great content. Also, if you have any video suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I'm always looking for new ideas to cover. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.